It's another edition of Time About the Movies. We're looking at the movies released on the weekend of October 12th, 1990. We've got 7 movies to look at today, so let's not waste any time. Let's just jump right on into it. We're going to start off with the biggest new release that came out this weekend, and that is the war drama Memphis Belle. Some notable things about this movie. Not only does this include Matthew Modine and Eric Stoltz, but it also features future actors that you will see in other movies in the decade, including Sean Astin, who would later become Rudy and be seen in the Lord of the Rings movies. This was Harry Connick Jr.'s feature film debut. Tate Donovan's in this, John Lithgow, D.B. Sweeney, Billy Zane. Some notable names here. Also notable, the producer of this movie is David Putnam, and if you don't remember David Putnam's name, he was the head of Sony Pictures for a little bit, and in the late 80s, he had a tough time really running that studio, and he got fired immediately after that. So this is his first major motion picture back after the disastrous run at Sony Pictures. And for the movie that he has, this movie that they have here, it's overall enjoyable. It is very much filled with a lot of war cliches, and at times it does try to be like the 1940s version of Top Gun in a way with some of the scenes in here. But overall, I think it is a very good movie. I think it's a well-made film. I think the acting really does stand out here. The flying sequences overall are very nicely done. Director Michael Caton-Jones does a pretty good job directing these actors and making this feel as authentic as it can be in a movie being released in 1990 that takes place in the 40s. It is fine for what it is. I think it could have been. It's not one of the great war epics ever, but it is a movie that I think is definitely a lot better than I think most people give it credit for. It's fine for what it is. A little too formulaic at times, but it's definitely worth it. I'd say definitely check it out if you got a chance to. So, anyway, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, which is Mr. Destiny, which basically is a modern remake of It's a Wonderful Life. It has a lot of the same elements as It's a Wonderful Life, although it's not technically a remake. There's a lot here that you could definitely take from that movie. And like I said before, I don't think Jim Belushi is a bad actor. I know a lot of people get on him all the time because he's nowhere near as good as his brother John Belushi, which is a fair compliment to make, but that doesn't mean the guy is an all-around bad actor. I've seen him be funny in a lot of movies and TV shows. Yeah, he's not, like I said, he's not as good as his brother John, but he's proven that he can be a decent actor, and I think in this movie that definitely proves my theory here. Because he is really good in this movie. I like his performance in this. I like that he and Michael Caine have a lot of good chemistry in the scenes that they're in. I like the chemistry that he has between his two different wives. His wife before he meets Michael Caine and Linda Hamilton, and his wife that he meets afterwards, which is Renee Russo. And you've also got John Lovitz here, Hart Bachner, Courtney Cox in an early role. Yeah, it's a little formulaic at times, and it definitely feels very much that they're trying to capture the spirit of It's a Wonderful Life, but this is actually a pretty decent film. It's a movie that I don't think a lot of people really talk about all that much, but it is a very good movie. It's a movie that I think is very underrated. It's definitely probably one of my favorite movies from Belushi as a movie actor, but yeah, I think this movie is definitely a lot better than most people give it credit for. I'd say definitely check it out and go in it with an open mind. If you like Jim Belushi's comedy, like stuff like from According to Jim and stuff like that but yeah, he could be a very good actor, and I think this is definitely one of his best leading roles that he's been in, at least in my opinion. So that's my thoughts on Mr. Destiny. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael, which is the second solo directing outing for Jim Abrams, who his first directing outing was Big Business. Of course, he's part of the Zuckers, Abrams, and Zucker collaboration of the Naked Gun and the Airplane movies, and his next movie would find him much better success with Hot Shots and, of course, Hot Shots Part 2. And Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael is a very mixed bag of a movie. I will say that. I think it's another one of those movies where the performances, I think, stand out the most. This is a great breakout role for Winona Ryder, who plays the leading character in this movie, and I think she's very good in this film. She definitely is one of the highlights of the film. You also have Jeff Daniels in here. Layla Robbins from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is also in this. Francis Fisher, Stephen Tobolowsky. Just a great cast overall here. The problem with the movie mostly comes in the script. I think the script writing here is not as strong as I think it would have been. And I mean, it's a movie that is very formulaic. It's a very similar, but most it's a very similar movie to a lot of teen movies of the time. But like I said, the real reason to check this movie out is because of the performance of Winona Ryder, which I think really was part of a strong year for her because she had this, and then she did Edward Scissorhands, and then Mermaids, and it just shows her how much she grows as an actress over the years after this. Because of course, most people saw her first in Beetlejuice, and then Heathers, and now and now Roxy Carmichael, and then just this growth that continues to grow with her with each passing film. It's a really good movie. I take that back. It's a decent movie that could have been a really good movie. It's a decent movie that, with a better script, probably would have been an underrated gem, but for what it is, it works fine for the cast that it has. Winona Ryder really is the highlight of the film. There are funny moments here and there. The script just needed a little bit of a boost, in my opinion. So, that's my thoughts on Welcome Home, Roxy Carmichael. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Blood Fist 2. If you've seen Blood Fist 1, you probably saw Blood Fist 2. I haven't seen the Blood Fist 2, quite honestly, because I just don't have the time to do it. And really, judging by this trailer, it definitely looks like the first Blood Fist movie all over again. I mean, I don't know if anybody else saw that, but there's nothing about this movie that really makes it stand out compared to the first movie. I mean, when I was watching that trailer the first time, I honestly thought to myself, is this the first trailer all over again? Because it very much feels like the first movie, except with different martial artists in there. And, yeah, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it, but, yeah, it definitely looks like the ultimate sequel, where it's just basically recopying the first movie with different actors in it, except for the leading actor. And, yeah, there's nothing about it that really makes me want to see it, so... Anyway, yeah, Blood Fist 2. Now let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, which is a far superior movie than Blood Fist 2, I would think. Dennis Hopper's directorial effort, and that is The Hot Spot. This is actually Dennis Hopper's second to last film that he made as a director. His last movie would be Chasers in '94. And of course, his directing career got started with Easy Rider. And this is one of his more underrated movies. This is a movie where... It's also a movie where Don Johnson, who, as a leading actor in movies, didn't get the best success, but this is probably his strongest leading film role that I can remember seeing from the filmography that he has. He really is... Johnson's really good in this movie. He definitely shows off why he became such a star with Miami Vice, and why he is such a likable actor at times. Like, he could be really good in this movie, playing kind of this snarky, charismatic a-hole, but... I mean, the chicks really love him in this movie. And speaking of the chicks in this movie, Virginia Madsen, Jennifer Connelly, oh boy, they are something else in this movie. This movie definitely likes to play with plays with a lot of vibes from an erotic thriller aspect, and it definitely shows in here. And it's done very well. It's done very tastefully, and it doesn't feel like it's just being there to just be titillating for the audience. It's playing a part in the story. It is a very good mystery film. It's a good thriller. It's a good dramatic movie. These actors are doing a very good job. Dennis Hopper is doing a great job directing this movie. It's a really good movie. It's probably one of his most underrated films. It definitely deserves a lot more attention than I think it gets. If you haven't seen The Hot Spot, I'd say definitely check it out. You will not be disappointed if you like these type of movies. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie. It's Danny Glover starring in To Sleep with Anger. Well, for one thing, I'll give Danny Glover credit. It's very interesting to see him play a character that's definitely out of his normal characters that they usually plays in movies. And this movie does look pretty interesting. It's a movie I haven't seen before, but I hadn't even heard about, honestly, until I actually looked at the trailer for this. I thought it was going to be something more serious, and in a way it is kind of a little over-the-top-ish, but maybe that's kind of the point of the movie itself. But, I mean, it definitely does look promising. Danny Glover looks like he's having a ton of fun with this role. You also have a lot of good actors in this. Cheryl Lee Ralph, Richard Brooks, Carl Lumbly, Vanetta McGee. Just a great cast overall here. Like I said, I can't really comment on the movie itself. I can only just go off by the trailer here. But the trailer really does show something a lot more interesting than I think a lot of people would have looked at if this movie had actually gone to a wider release. But, I mean, it does look promising. It doesn't look like a movie that shows a lot of potential here. Like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on it, but it's definitely something I really want to check out at some point. And maybe I will someday, so definitely one that I'm going to keep my eye on. If I see it somewhere at a good price, I'll definitely check it out maybe. But let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, and that is The Spirit of 76. And you can kind of see why this movie doesn't really get talked about all that much. I mean, it's got a good concept here. It has a funny idea. These guys go from 2176, try to go back to 1776, but for some reason they end up in 1976. But, yeah, that trailer was rough. That was rough to get through. It's hard to believe that one of Rob Reiner's kids directed this movie, Lucas Reiner, who really hasn't done much in directing. He directed one other movie, but he's mostly known as an artist and a photographer nowadays. I mean, but again, it's one of those concepts where I could definitely see the potential of this working, but the jokes just seem really corny, especially for something that takes place 14 years after the time period that they're going to. I don't know, man. This movie just doesn't look that promising to me whatsoever. It's a movie that I think is a little too ambitious. They're trying to do something different and unique and clever, but it just really doesn't show it. It doesn't really show in that trailer. It just looks like a movie that, if you didn't tell me it was made in 1990, I would have guessed this was made in like 2000 or something, or the late 90s, like back when you could had more time to really make fun of the 70s if you wanted to. But I don't know. I mean, it just didn't work. It just doesn't work from this trailer for me. I don't think it really had that much of a following, because you can barely find this movie except for one DVD. But I don't know. I really can't comment too much on it. I haven't seen it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this movie has a huge cult following that I don't know about. But so far, I haven't seen anything to really back that up. So I can only say that maybe there's potential here, but that trailer did not really sell me on this movie. So there you go. That's my thoughts on The Spirit of 76. It's something that could be interesting, but probably isn't. And on that note, that's going to wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll wrap up the week with the movies of October 19th. We have 4 movies to look at, including Tom Selleck in the Western Quickly Down Under from the director of Lonesome Dove. The remake of Night of the Living Dead with Tony Todd in it. We have Susan Sarandon and James Spader in White Palace. And we also have Jeremy Irons in Reversal of Fortune. So 4 movies we'll definitely look into next time around. But other than that, though, thank you guys for watching. And always, if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for another new episode. So thank you for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And until then, take care.